Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we are on the western side of the Exiled Lands, in a clearing just to the west of the Circle of Swords, and we'll be making a witch's house. This build was suggested by Morgan McRae on my previous stealth based video, so thank you very much for the suggestion. This week's video was initially intended to be the Bard's Academy, however I accidentally read my own list wrong and built this instead, thinking this was the next build in line. So my apologies, the Bard's Academy will be following next week, followed by Yamatai build the week after and a Stone Fortress the week following that. This entire build will be made from the Frontier materials for the Savage Frontier DLC, as these items have a nice dark, intimidating feeling and the spikes on the walls feel very foreboding. So without further ado, let's get started on our base plate. This base plate is of quite an unusual size and form, with a forward circular platform that leads into two somewhat rectangular angled sections. As according to the blueprint, the large circular platform will be where the staircase will sit, with an inner corridor leading to the ground floor of the build. After the base foundations are down according to the blueprint, I will then stack 2 tiles more of wedge foundations on the inside of the central circle to create a barrier wall for the corridor and staircase, although I would later adjust this section, but you'll see that when we get to it. At this point I also place down the stairs, using railed stairs that lead to single wedge landings to create a somewhat spiral staircase inside the circular platform. Next, for the walls. Using door frames, window frames and frontier walls, I built the walls of the ground floor 2 tiles high, separating the structure into the rooms I showed earlier in the blueprint. When the walls of the first floor were then complete, I then went ahead and mirrored the foundations with ceilings to create, of course, the ceiling, then placing walls onto the second floor. For this floor I did not include any rooms, as I wanted this to be a large open plan sort of workshop. I also used ceilings to extend out the foundations on the central platform to make a complete balcony style area above the entrance. I built the walls for the second floor up 2 tiles high again. Next, for the roof. This roof was probably one of the most difficult ones I've tried to construct, but in the end it did come out in quite a twisted and angled shape, which is what I was hoping for. Seeing as this build is designed for a witch, it is somewhat reflective of the witch herself, having a dark and twisted architecture. In the end it required a lot of experimentation using wedge roof pieces, along with full rooftop and sloped pieces. After almost 25 minutes and recording almost 3.8 gigabytes of me constantly tinkering and experimenting with the roof, I can say that I am very happy with how the roof actually turned out. It looks winding and imposing, with sharp edges and roofing creeping up the structure. I wish I could kind of give you a better way of describing exactly how to make this roof, but unfortunately it's one of those roofs that is best created by just experimenting and seeing what works. Considering I'm still fairly new to Conan Exiles, however, if you've been building and playing for a while, then you may have a much easier time building a roof like this than I did. Also, when the roof is done, don't forget to close the gaps between the walls and rooftop pieces, otherwise you'll notice them later and you'll just have to fix them then. Before I do make some last minute modifications to the build, I decided to have part of the roof lean down over the balcony area to provide some cover from the weather. I did this by placing a pillar 2 tiles high and creating a flat ceiling above, using wedges on the edges of the ceiling to mirror the shape of the bottom of the roof to create a flush finish on the overhanging rooftop. I would then use inverted wedges to create parts of the roof that would extend out, almost like fingers. I think this looks great and gives the build a little bit more of a creepy and imposing vibe, seeing as it adds to the overall kind of spiky, imposing, dangerous look of the roof, and also it just looks a bit weird, but in a good way. Finally, some minor adjustments. I extended out the entranceway to give it some isolation from the central platform of the build. I then went inside and removed part of the central foundations, replacing the top with standard ceiling pieces above and a centralised entranceway for the build. Finally, I decided to properly fence off the area around the build between the broken stones. This was quite difficult, having to use fence foundations at varying heights to gap the breaks between the stones. It was easy enough at first, however it gets harder when you run into some of the erroneous clipping with the fence foundations that won't allow you to properly place the foundations or the fences that will sit atop them. My solution for this was painstakingly using the ghost admin command to stop clipping occurring and be able to place them freehand. However, if you're not able to use admin commands to do this, you might want to avoid trying to create this fence at all. It doesn't actually give much viable protection, I just think it looks good, and the clipping will definitely get in your way if you're trying to do this vanilla. Finally, when the shell of the build was complete, it was then time to of course furnish. Due to its location, the area is often shrouded in fog and rain. The outside of the build is decorated with large witch banners and standing witchfire torches. 2 serpentman statues guard the front door, which will be explained a little bit later. Let's take a look around the fence line. Okay, looking good. Let's head in and to the left. Entering the ground floor, this level is split into 3 sections. We'll bear left first and head towards our first stop, the bedroom. This room is decorated with bizarre looking plants, cupboards and most importantly, along with the obvious bed, black candles. Black candles are heavily associated with witchcraft, hence their usage here. They don't actually supply much light, that is given through the witchfire torches, however they do augment the atmosphere nicely. Next, across the hall for the lounge room. This room includes a large mystic throne for the witch, a fireplace and a nearby table. Whilst the witch is almost always busy, this is where she would come once in a while to relax. Back out the front door and upstairs we are at the balcony, which has a great view across the fog-covered forest. The overhanging ceiling also looks great from this angle. Finally, we'll head into the large workshop. This is the room where the witch's experiments take place. She is striving to crossbreed humans and serpent men, hence the heavy feature of dead bodies and serpent men statues throughout the build. The right side of the build is where the furnace station is, adorned with a mysterious serpentman egg which is in the process of attempting to be hatched. Behind this section is the witch's research station, which shows her hectic and endless attitude towards her research. The left side of the build is where the humans are processed, and where failed experiments are killed and grinded down into meat. There is also some storage space here for any personal effects of the dead captures that the witch might want to keep. Over in the corner there is also an artisan table and of course a torturer's table for obvious reasons. And there we have it, the witch's house to the west of the Circle of Swords, on the west side of the Exiled Lands. Thanks for watching. I am extremely happy with how this build came out, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed building it. If you did, leave a like on the video and let me know if you have any suggestions for future builds in the comments below. We are already amassing a decent amount of build requests and I can't wait to get working on all of them soon, with next Sunday's video being the long awaited, partially because I misread my own list, Bard's Academy. Don't forget to join our Discord through the link in the description to get sneak peeks of what I'm working on and also chat about various things, including video suggestions. If you have any of those, feel free to jump in the Discord and we'll throw some ideas around and we'll see what we can do. Also don't forget to check out the channel whilst you're there. We're coming up to 2,000 subscribers and 500,000 views, which I imagine will probably hit either maybe tomorrow or Tuesday. So if you do like what you see on the channel, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to be the first to see the next Conan Exiles video and join us on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Again, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.